Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michaela, and I come from a country pretty close to South Africa. It's called Zimbabwe, so we're just up top, for those that don't know. I'm an ALU student, and I am a fourth year graduating student this June, and I shall be your host for this panel this afternoon. We are very privileged to have some wonderful guests amongst us, and they have a wealth of knowledge that they're going to share with you. And hopefully at the end, we'll be able to open up the platform to you guys to ask questions, to really deep dive into your knowledge about this industry, the gender gap, the Mauritian market, and what's out there for you guys, especially as youth today. But before we do that, I would love to energize us a little bit. Some of us have had snacks and drinks, and maybe we're feeling a little bit slow. So I'd love everybody to stand up in the audience just for 2 minutes. Okay, so I'd love you to turn to the person on your left and give them one word about how you felt before you came to Switch this morning. Just one word. Okay, and now I want you to turn to the person on your right and give them one word about how you feel now. Okay, thank you. Everybody take your seats. So, as you know, today we're here to explore and empower women in the tech industry. We want to talk about breaking stereotypes and career paths, as well as engaging proactively to inspire youth, especially in Mauritius, to pursue their dreams in STEM, as well as tech fields, regardless of who you are or where you come from. Today we have some very special guests who have volunteered their time to share with us their incredible personal journeys in this sector, and they're here to share words of wisdom, their mistakes, and to be as candid with us as possible about bridging the gender gap in the tech world, and not just in the industry in general, but here in Mauritius. So I'd like us to please welcome Sameera first up to the stage, with a background in data communication and networking, with experience in training teams as well as customer relations. Let's give Sameera a hand. Next, we have Denis, who I'm sure you've already heard from, who has led and developed several IT projects. He has refined experience in everything from planning and inception, customer liaison, design and testing, to successful implementation within set budgets. He has extensive knowledge in hardware and software experience. Let's give him a warm welcome as well as he joins us on stage. Finally, we have Delphine, who is the last addition to our panel for today, who is a technical project manager with a background in software engineering. She specializes in team curation in startups, as well as managing software development projects in fintech, telecom, and upstream oil and gas industries. Let's welcome Delphine, everybody.
Please hold the mic upwards.
So, thank you for joining us today. This is day one of 2 days of student-organized conference, Switch Conference 2019. And we've had a full day so far already of insights, performances, networking, and breakout sessions. But now we want to zoom in on experienced experts who have already paved their way into success in this industry, especially in their different specialities in tech-related work. So I want us to dive right in. And I think that we'll give our first opening question to Denis. Would you mind sharing with the audience one significant memory of how you chose to go into the tech industry?
So, welcome back. So I should say this to myself. It's been quite long, actually. And what I do recall, I started my studies actually in electronics. And it was not about IT, actually. And then the result was so bad that I had to divert myself to something else. And this is where I had to choose between IT and some other fields. And then I went, since it was the trend, so I went into the IT field then. And this is where the journey started for me in IT. And I've been enjoying it for years now. I still work with passion. So some say I'm a workaholic because I work 24/7. My laptop, my tablet, my phone is always with me. I carry even on vacation, I carry my laptops. So I'm always eager to learn, because when you're in technology, you need to learn, always learning. So this is where actually I've something which, this is where actually I went into IT.
Okay, wow. So that's an interesting way for us to see that it doesn't matter how much older you're going to get. I think it's important for us to note that you never stop learning and you should have an open mind, especially in a space like the tech industry where things are always evolving. Yeah. And you always need to keep up and stay ahead of the trend. Sameera, next to you, in Mauritius, how do you feel the tech industry currently looks like for women especially?
Well, for me, I would say it's very promising. It's very promising because we have so many workshops, so many ICT awareness events that we are having. So I think that would bring more women and girls in the ICT sector. I myself being the representative of Women in Tech Africa in Mauritius, so since 3 years now, I would say that whenever I had the annual event, so the house is really full with students, with entrepreneurs, and even women. They are here to share their knowledge, their experiences. So like we say before, technology is not only IT. So you have technology with health, you have technology with architecture. So you have a full audience that would share their knowledge. So I would say it's very promising in Mauritius.
Okay, that's wonderful to hear that you don't necessarily need to be a programmer or a software engineer to get involved in the tech industry. I think youth today make a common misconception that you only have to have these practical skills in order to enter the industry. But as you're hearing here from Sameera, you can have various interests and still find a way to enter the tech industry. Something I would like to share with you guys that you may or may not know, we'll be dropping some did you knows as we go along through the panel. Female tech positions, according to Rubicon Weekly for 2019, shared with us this year that female tech positions are growing as fast as 283% faster than their male counterparts. And up to 85% of women express satisfaction and happiness in their job in this industry as well, which is fantastic reporting for an industry that has a significantly lower percentage of women at the moment. Our next question goes to Delphine. Would you like to share with us what motivates you to continue to be a front runner in this industry as a woman specifically?
Well, to me, as Denis was saying earlier, women have got their own perspective on tech, and I think it's really important. So as one of the 15% of women in tech, I think it's important that I stay here and train some more women. So there are some around here. So it's really passing on the knowledge, everything that, the experience after 20 plus years that I've accumulated, and I need to pass that on and help as I can other people to grow, and then so they can pass it on as well, and bring out the next generation of women in tech.
Okay, a follow-up question maybe to you, Delphine, would be what gives you so much drive to help the youth, especially, within your job line? Where did it come from?
I've got kids. And so when I see them, I want them to be part of what's coming next. And tech is going to be everywhere. It's already everywhere, but it's going to be even more so. I mean, we saw, this morning RPAs and robotics and everything, and, one robot per person, why not? Maybe. And, it's that. It's training youth to actually be there, take care when they actually come up with new ideas and develop new techs, because you can use tech in the bad way, the same way you can use tech in a good way, and it's actually guiding them towards using the tech in a good way to help people and make the world better.
Definitely. We're in an age where it's all about artificial intelligence and blockchain technology, which you'll hear more about tomorrow. It's also, smartphones and smart cars, and it's everybody else doing the thinking these days instead of us as human beings almost. So everybody faces challenges in their career, and I'd love for any one of you to share with us what were some of your standout moments and lessons for you as your career developed, especially considering that the majority of us here today are probably under the age of 25 and still finding our way in whatever respective interests that we have. So do any of you have anything that highlights a significant turning point in your journey career-wise that you'd love to share?
Okay, I'll try to do it. So, as you know, working in IT is quite challenging, and it's also a world where you have competition. Like it or not, the IT world is really competing. And sometimes you even compete with people, with your own colleagues. And in my situation, there was one point of time that at a point I was sitting in an office alone. Because this happened. I won't go deep into the story. I was sitting alone in an office, and I was thinking whether should I continue in IT or not. Is this the right track, or should I change field? And then, challenges will still come. Every day you have challenges. Every day there is something that pops up. But it's only how you respond to it. And one of the things I did was to respond to that. So this is where I came out, and this is where I am today. It's because I've been able to overcome this. And I've been able to build my confidence in what I do. So like this morning, this is what the first time I was doing, I was a speaker with such an audience. Though yesterday I did do the dry run here, it was awful. So I went back home and I said, oh God, Denis, what are you going to do? But then today it was a different experience. So just want to tell everyone that whatever you're going to do, people are going to like. There are some people that doesn't like. So you just have to overcome this. You just have to move on. You've got a target, you just go for your target.
Well, for me, it's a different story because, like you said, I think most of the audience here are 25 years old. So I was 25 when I was promoted as an IT manager in a company.
Wow.
And I would say the first experience that I had, the company wanted to introduce their POS system. I said, okay, that was a good project. The director told me you need to be in a boardroom to see the specification, how to set up the system. I wasn't expecting to see many men and boys in front of me. There was only 2 girls. The one taking the notes, the secretary, and myself. And there were 5 men in front of me. And the only thing I've heard, I could grasp at that time was, I will say it in French and in Creole and even in English for those to understand. Because when you talk among boys, I think the most common language would be in Creole or in French. In English, they say, oh, we need to work with a girl for this project. Will she understand the specifications? will she know the technical words? And in Creole, they said, "Moi, besoin travailler avec certificat. Il peut connaître spécification, il peut connaître qu'appelle hardware, il peut connaître qu'appelle software." So I was just, I don't know where I got the courage to answer them. I say, I'll let you know that I have the power as well to choose another suppliers to work with if you don't want to work with me. And at that time, they said, "Oh, this girl talks a lot." So I would say, as from that time, I was given the word, the first person to speak, to share my experience, to share my views for the projects. And also, I was 25, so after 10 years now, I'm still working with these guys. And they look for me for find solutions for them. So that was something that really lessons, moments that I've been learning, that you need to be honest, firstly. You don't need to be afraid. You had a vision when you choose your career in the IT sector. So you need to follow that. You need to follow your vision and be passionate about what you do.
Wow, I think, wow. Let's give her a round of applause. That's an
Thank
incredible
you.
story. It's interesting that you should mention specifications specifically for what people are strong at when they're working with their career. Definitely through my university experience, we've learned that you work best in a team when you know what your individuals that you're working with know what your strengths are. So you work best when everybody's sharing their strengths. And a report released in 2018 by Tech Jury for the tech industry says that some of the top tech positions that are in the majority occupied by women are project managers, business analysts, quality assurance testers, and technical recruiters. And this obviously shows, you know, where some of the strengths of women lie within this field. Delphine, is there any particular moment in the past 20 years that you've shared in this industry that you would love to highlight for the younger people with us today?
Well, I haven't had any bad experience like Sameera, I have to say. I've been very, very privileged in a way. I didn't start working in Mauritius, maybe. That's why, I don't know. It was in the UK when I started working. And it was a tough interview, my first job, but I got in and other guys didn't. So the first project I worked on was a research project with a small company called Shell. And I have to say that this was, you know, one of the most valuable experience I've ever had, and I'll show some of the things we did tomorrow during the talk. But it was very gratifying to actually not be segregated because I was a woman, but treated as an equal because, you know, I had the brains to be there and I had my part to play in the software development in the project that we were working on. Even though I was super junior, I had my part, and they recognized that, and they really mentored me as well as a young girl out of uni, and I'm really grateful for that, and that allowed me to grow very quickly.
Okay, and to add on to what you've just told us, now that you're sort of in this context, have you had, you know, any experience or moments within Mauritius, within this industry, that you've noticed that is interesting to young people, or is there anything that you would like to share with us specifically in this context, in, you know, Mauritius, on the island, to do with tech? So in Mauritius, what I've seen, as Sameera was saying, is that there's loads and loads of companies trying to start up in all sorts of innovative technology areas. I mean, there are blockchain. I wasn't expecting that, you know, from Mauritius. And when
what we say is, oh, Mauritius is good for websites and finance, right? But there are a lot of people out there who are ready to take on the challenge of using new technology for good things and building new companies. And I guess, from those small companies, they're going to grow and they're going to need a lot more people to work on. So there are, I think, a lot of opportunities for everybody to be in tech in Mauritius.
Definitely. So I hope that the young people in the audience with us today are paying attention to some of the company names or websites that our guests are sharing with us today. This is an absolutely incredible opportunity because, as you're hearing our panelists say, there are many, many opportunities out there for us right now as young people, especially in these emerging industries, and it's up to us and our proactivity and our motivation to reach out and say, I think I can do this and I want to try. Because most of what our panelists have been telling us in these introductory questions is that they've only achieved what they have done because they were brave enough to actually try. High school is a defining time for youth going into early college decisions of what to study. And I'm sure most of us here in the audience can relate to this, that when you're exploring degree-wise career choices and your first jobs or your first internship, it's a very stressful time for young people. Considering what you three now know about the industry, what would you encourage and emphasize young people to consider who want to follow a similar route to you?
Well, Well, as everyone mentioned, there are quite a lot of opportunities in Mauritius. There are many things being done. So various fields to explore, like we've talked about blockchain, we've talked about artificial intelligence, and we heard about cybersecurity. And the prospect is not only for Mauritius, but looking out in Africa itself, because Mauritius, we are trying to build up an education hub for Africa. So it would make sense that all the resources would come from Mauritius itself, because we are very much centered in the Indian Ocean, going from Europe down to the Africa. And I strongly believe that those youngs who want to start, who want to build a career, because you don't have to think about the previous jobs, like accounting and all. You have to think about accounting a different way, perhaps fintech. When you talk about technology, you have to think about cybersecurity, which is the trend now. So I think there are very much opportunities, but you just need to find your way, because not everyone will do accounting, not everyone will do fintech, not everyone will do blockchain. So you just there are many possibilities, because even in the medical sector, so it's segregated into different parties where technology is getting in, and which these young can actually explore these possibilities. And we try, what we do best is we try to empower people, we try to give them as much as resources as they need, and just to choose what field or what career they want to do.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, for me, I'd say, sorry to say that, but math, if you want to pursue a science or engineering career, is kind of primordial. And I know that some people don't really like math, but that's a bit of a no-go if you don't want to do it that way. But I also wanted to say that, youngsters, I'm going to show my age now, youngsters today have got it so easy. There are so much material on the internet that they can have access to. I know it might create more confusion when they're looking for what they want to do, because there's so much choice. But on the other hand, they can also, get more ideas about what's possible there. Something I would say is that you don't learn everything that you're going to need at school or at university. And there are loads of free websites where you can do training courses on absolutely every subject. And I would really urge people to go on those websites and look at what's available there. And in their spare time, when they're not studying for their exams, actually go and look at some of those courses and do some of those courses so that they get an idea of what, aeronautics might be, or what chemistry might be, or the different type of careers that they might go into. And that's.
Okay, Sameera, any last thoughts to share?
Yeah, I just want to add whatever you said now. The young need to learn how to accept, how to handle failure so that they can go ahead. And they need to know how to make good decisions. I think apart from all those technical skills, they need to have all these, the communication skills. And I would also like to encourage them to join teams, to join groups. Like we say, you have free websites, but you have organizations that need you, that would help you as well, and learn valuable lessons and know how to work in a team. I think that would help also the young.
I think that Sameera is sharing some very interesting insights. The more the world seems to develop, the more individualistic we seem to be getting as, a human race on the globe. It's more about I and me and less about we and collaboration. And that is definitely something that's important, especially if you want to go forward in your career. Usually when you want to network or when you need to meet someone, it's usually through someone that's a friend or a colleague, and that's a good way to advance your career. So I really think that that's a really valuable insight, Sameera, is that it's about collaboration and about sharing and creating a shared platform, because ideas grow when you share them. If that's something that Fred Swanecker has taught us at ALU, is ideas definitely grow when you share them and you collaborate. As we move to some more in-depth questions in our panel, I would love for the audience to think about the fact that in tech startups across the world, only 20% of them are founded by women. And according to the By the Number report conducted by the National Center for Women and Information Technology in April of 2015, it notes that growth between 2000 and 2014 is the number of first-year undergrad women interested in majoring in computer science has already declined by 7%. So maybe as young people in the audience, we can be thinking about, what this might be. And if we continue our panel discussion, maybe we're going to find some of those answers. So, moving into the slightly heavier stuff. I think we can start with Denis.
I'm very privileged. It's usually the ladies who get the first one.
Yes, we shall not discriminate today. It's either or. Within your exposure to the tech industry in Mauritius, are there opportunities available to young people that you could recommend to test their passion or skills before entering the marketplace?
Well, I'm just going to take what Delphine and Sameera just said earlier. The problem with youth now is whether they finish university or at university or even after, or it's actually what they look at is what they're going to gain. When I mean gain, it's not about experience, knowledge. It's more about how much money I'm going to get at the end of the month. And I think the mindset has to change. Because at our time, when we were having school holidays, our parents were teaching us to go and work. And sometimes it was for very, very little money, but just to learn what it is to work. And as Delphine said, with all the technologies that we have today, I take it from my daughter itself, So she wakes up actually at noon when she has not school. And doing household, not really her thing. So my advice is for these young, if you want to really embark yourself, you want to have skills, you have to accept to work for nothing. Join organization, go and learn. Go and learn with those people who are older than you. Because this is the trend, that the young one says, oh, this guy is a bit old, he doesn't know what he's telling you. So you should go, you should experience. Experience as much as you want. Try things. There are many. We were talking about startup. You know how many startups we have in Mauritius? Why don't you go and help this startup? Because most probably that this guy who decided to start his business, he doesn't have any expertise in digital marketing. He doesn't know how to put, for example, how to do Facebook marketing. So if you've got the knowledge, if it's something you know that you can do, go and experience. Do it. This is the best way for you to learn. Instead of spending time on Facebook, I know it's very cool to spend time on Facebook, Instagram, taking pictures wherever you go, even in the market, while you're having dinner, even when you're waking up. Come on, guys. Okay, so I think if I had to give an advice, if they want really to learn, even learning, you have to see how they learn. Actually, Delphine said that you've got loads of websites. Let's do a statistics. How many times in a week would someone go and learn something on the internet rather than going on YouTube and watching his favorite singer, his favorite actor or series on YouTube? So I think
let's poll the audience quickly. So you guys, did you hear Denis's question? He's saying, how many of you would go and open an online learning website like Khan Academy and the like versus opening YouTube to watch, your favorite playlist? So for those of you that would opt for opening Khan Academy and educational websites, please show your hands. And those of you that would choose to open Facebook or YouTube in expense to learning, that's what you'd be spending your data on. Thank you for being honest. Yes, that's actually very true. You've got hundreds of thousands of learning resources on YouTube. So we should be seeing your guys' search bars getting a little bit more engaging after this session, I think. I think that we could transition through now to a question for Sameera. What does it take to become a leader, more especially a female leader, in your line of work, since you've had significant experience with breaking stereotypes and volunteering to step into the spotlight? How do you think you shaped your career and became a leader?
With experience and with time, I would say you need a good mentor. A good mentor is very important in an aspect of especially leadership. The next thing would be you need to trust yourself, know where you are going, and also accept criticism from people. Okay? I think that's the key point. You have so many things that you can say about becoming a leader. But for my career, for my pathway that I've been doing is, like I say, first you need to have sincerity. You need to be passionate about what you do. You need to trust yourself, and you need to trust the people around you as well. Okay, and the only way that I've been trying, the only support that I had so far was I had a great mentor. He's a man, actually. He's a man, and I would say having a mentor was a great milestone for me. So I would encourage people, young especially, to have someone to mentor you. Mentor you, whether it can be in your personal life or in your business as well, or in your career.
Okay, I think that we should do a pulse check with the audience. How many of you today can safely say that you've proactively reached out to someone in your industry, someone that you trust and look up to, and asked them, sent them an email, sent them a message, sent them a message on LinkedIn? How many of you have reached out proactively to get a mentor in the past year? So there's something for us to work on today.
I would like to add also that now I am also a registered mentor internationally. So I mentor women internationally for the past 3 years. So I am registered with I don't know if anyone here know about the Sherry Blair Foundation. So I'm registered with that organization where I mentor women entrepreneurs in any sector. It's not only in IT, but in any sector. So how I do that? Use of technology. So I have my weekly meeting, whether it's on Skype or on WhatsApp. And this is how we share experiences. It's not only I am doing the mentor, but I learn from these people as well. So one or two I can mention. The first time I've mentored someone from Vietnam. She was fashion designer. Last year I've mentored a lady in India. She was a financial lady. I mean, she's in the financial sector. And this year, I'm mentoring another lady from Delhi, and she is in a tech company.
Wow, that's fantastic to see that even though, we get so busy in the industry, it's important to take time to give back. So those of us in the audience today that are on LinkedIn, that are online, let's take some time tonight to reach out and look up some of these organizations, because they do exist, and there are many, many people and many companies, startups that are giving back and are providing platforms and opportunities, like Sameera has mentioned, for us to grow from. According to Tech Jury in 2018, something for us to think about is 36% of Facebook's global staff was composed of women, and as much as 25.5% of Google's leaders on a global scale were women. So the percentages are starting to balance out in the tech industry. So it definitely seems like the scales are starting to balance, and more women are stepping into the spotlight, as our panelists are highlighting for us. Delphine, the next question goes to you. Can you please tell us about some of the latest trends in your particular industry and how these may impact youth or women in particular, whichever you feel most comfortable to share?
Well, if we're talking about the software industry, there's a huge amount of stuff coming out. I mean, you guys know already about machine learning, artificial intelligence, blockchain, or the distributed ledger technology. All these have come out recently, and they're set to revolutionize the way we're doing things, even for farmers to actually be able to sell their products at a fair price. It's great, and the impact it's going to have on everyone, globally, and even more so, hopefully, on developing countries, is going to be great, and I'm looking forward to that. It's not. I don't know if it's going to affect women in particular. I think it's more the tech industry and everyday people as well. But that's it.
Okay. Denis, let's swing the spotlight back to you. And we're going to start to get a little bit controversial. This is, a stage, and we'll call you the hot seat right now.
Yeah.
We say that you need to get a little bit out of your comfort zone if you want to make progress. And something I'd like for you to try and share with the audience today is, when you are in the workspace, it's very easy to go with the flow. It's very difficult to be a maverick or someone that goes against the tide. Is there anything that you feel that you believe in, that the people you work with or the people in your industry don't agree with? So is there something that you think is something that will bring us forward, take us forward, that others around you may not necessarily think is a great idea?
Well, if you had my director here, he would give you the answer, because I always challenge him. So I think one thing I've been learning is actually it's about competition. And you know, to be the best, I always compete with myself. I really don't compete with others. I don't really like competing with others. I just compete with myself to be the better of myself. So in whatever I do, and you're talking about technology, I would share with you something very different from a perspective of just showing you how you can take up challenge, how you can take things on a next level. Believe it or not, I am a diabetic, and it's been quite some years now. And you know, as you go, when you do your medical tests, you receive the result, and things change. So they told me you need to do sport, and you know what sport I decided to do? The MC told this morning I started doing martial art. And when I told this to the doctor, he said, come on, you just need to walk. And I said, no, I want to do it. And you know, it's not something I started when I was a children. I started, I think, 8 years back doing martial art. You could imagine that going into a class where you had other students younger than you wearing belts who were higher grades, what it's like. But I've overcome this. I told to myself, I need to do it, I will do it, and I did it again. Okay, and it's been 8 years now. I am practicing every week, and I'm going to my training every week, and I enjoy going to my training. So to come back to this discussion is really think about yourself. Don't look about what others are doing. Let them live their life. You've got your goals. You want to do something, you do it. You want to learn, learn it. You want to do programming, go on a site and learn. You want to learn about cybersecurity, go. It doesn't mean that you have to do a career in cybersecurity, but you want to learn. You are curious by nature. So go and learn. So for me, this is how I live. And I strongly believe that in many, because if I don't really recall any occasion or any things that, because every day there's something that pops up. Just to tell you, I am here now and we are doing a migration this weekend. So I'm rushing back from office here, going back here. So every day there is a challenge, but this is life. You have to take it up. You have to go and fight every fight and try to win every of it. That's it.
Okay, a leader's work, as they say, is never truly done. I want to remind our audience that we'll be opening up for a brief question and answer session with the panelists at the end. So to keep jotting down your questions, if there's any burning things that you'd like to know. It's safe to say that as much as we have, experts and knowledge, what we're saying is personal experiences from our panelists, and you may agree with them or you may not agree with them, and it'll be up to you guys to engage with them either now during the question and answer session or afterwards. Sameera, what are some of the common mistakes youth make when entering the field of technology through data, communication, and networking?
I think everyone will agree with me, so, but some may not. Most of the youth, when they go for lectures, they have slides. They don't have the hands-on practical. So when they go for a work, for their first job, they say, oh, I didn't learn that. How do I do that? how will I use my clipping tools to prepare my network cable? I've only seen that on slide. So even the colors of your cable will change at the time. So how you handle that? So I think the mistake that they do young is that they don't take the initiatives to go to learn, like Denis said. Go and look for companies, for organizations that would give you those practices to make you learn and get you more, let you have more experiences. And one of the, I think the common thing that young people they are not aware. They use the social media. I'm telling that in a director perspective. When I have someone when I need to interview, what you do first? Even if you have a friend, what will you do first if you're on social media? If you're on LinkedIn, you'll go and look for the profile of that people, right? So young, they will just write everything on the social media, what they are doing, their personal life, what they have been learning in the university, what experience that they have. They don't realize when you apply for a job and the director behind that will have already screenshot you. He already or she already went on those social media to learn, to read about you. And what if at that time you just wrote something, I don't know, something very stupid about your experience? So that could be a mistake for young people. So I wouldn't advise that you share all your knowledge, your experiences on social media.
Wow, something we don't often think about, but we're definitely in the age that we call the Internet of Things. And just plugging in your name and potentially where you were born, you can definitely find out a lot about an individual these days on the internet. There is nothing a secret. There is nothing that you can hide, as Sameera is saying, in this age. So you'll want to be wary, especially obviously entering an industry where the people that you'll be working for are very tech savvy and haven't been working, with manual systems. They now know how to find you and know what to find you. Delphine, we'd like to transition and find out from you, what advice do you have for women who are in the field of technology experiencing imposter syndrome? So what advice do you have for women who are in the field of technology and are experiencing imposter syndrome? So it's more to speak of how it's a male-dominated industry for the most part, and we're making huge strides in balancing it out, in sharing out funding. You have more female leaders emerging in the industry, but there's some of us that may still be in our workspace saying that I don't belong here, or I can't keep up. I didn't score as highly as my male counterparts at school. STEM subjects are not for me. What advice would you give, to that young girl or young woman who is thinking of quitting? Because statistics say that there's a high percentage of women that after 10 years or so tend to drop out because they feel like they haven't made it in a very competitive male-dominated space.
Well, it's not going to be nice, but basically those women should get a grip. And, well, it's true. Stop listening to what people are saying about you. The most important thing is what you believe about yourself, right? If you don't believe about yourself, who else is going to believe about you? Who's going to give you a chance if you're not going to give yourself a chance? So stop whining, because you're giving exactly what the guys, are expecting of you, that you're a weak and feeble female in a male-dominated industry. That's rubbish. Women have got a place in the tech industry. They've got a brain, and now we don't need to lift heavy things anymore. Why are we still having that, stigma attached to, poor, weak women who can't do tech. That's not it anymore. We're working with computers. You just need your brain and hopefully 10 fingers, and you're away with it. So don't listen to what people have to say. Just do it. If that's what you enjoy, if that's what you really are passionate about, who is, anyone to tell you that you can't do it, you haven't got your place there, this is not where you belong. You need to believe it to make it happen, and don't expect anyone to do that for you.
Okay. An interesting takeaway, because it seems you're saying that if you pull out or if you have fear and you don't try for it, the only person that you'll be hurting in the end is yourself.
Exactly. And you're just gonna, you're gonna hurt also other women, right? By giving up in front of people who think that you are not there, it's not your place, and you give up in front of them, and then they say, see, that's what I was saying, women have not their place in here, and you're hurting, the next one who's gonna come along. So don't do it, believe in yourself and do what you want.
Definitely. Earlier we mentioned that we've seen a 21% increase in first-year college students majoring in programs such as computer science. And it seems like we're leveling out the playing field in terms of your entry-level working jobs and students getting experience in internships when it comes to gender roles. But The Observer has told us that in 2016, only $1.4 billion was invested into companies with female leads, as compared to a massive $58 billion from their male counterparts. There is plenty of funding available in this industry, and here we're talking today at Switch about bridging the gender gap, because we want to inspire more women to compete for their slice of the investor funding pie, because the pie is huge, and we can't have women taking less than 2% of the total pie. Denis, here's another controversial one for you. Do you believe that women need to act like men to be successful in this industry? We've just had some interesting insights from Delphine. So what is your take?
I would turn the question around and say, do men need to act differently?
Sure.
I don't think so, because women has their own identity, their own perspective, their feelings that generally men tend to forget, actually. Because I've seen this in many organizations. So when you have a woman that leads a team or works in a group of men, it's really changed the whole workplace. I might just give you one example. We have one girl working with us in our department, and one of the things I always complain about the boys was the tidiness of the tables, because they used to spread everything around. Okay, so when we got the girl into the department, so she made it clear to everyone that you had to clean your desk, and I mean, it's a different experience. It's really a different experience. I live it every day because I've got a daughter. Okay, and in my working environment, I also encourage, I empower girls, because I think you have, as a person, and where I am, as you said earlier, being in a position where you lead, I think you need to give them tools, you need to give them opportunities to grow. And this is what I try to do. And really, women today, it's not like my mother, because my mother was that woman that would sit at home, cook for my dad, look after the children, you know, this kind of, and this is no more the woman of today. Because the women of today, they want to change the world. They want to bring changes. Because for so many years, it's not because I'm just sitting in a conference where we are talking about breaking the gender gap that I'm saying this. It has been a really male-dominated century where male is everywhere, in a boardroom, doing engineering jobs, even in the marketing and so on. So I think there's a wake-up of the woman. So where they see the necessity to come in front and bring changes. So I won't say that, yes, women need to be there, but they don't need to follow what men do. They have their own identity, and they have to actually share what they believe to everyone.
I think that's refreshing to hear, definitely. As we start to close up our panel discussion, I'd like to pose to the panelists, what does success look like for some of us women in STEM and tech-related advancements for each of you in 10 years' time, maybe in Mauritius or maybe globally? You can choose which one you'd like to comment on. And maybe, Denis, you could also think about what kind of advice you would give the audience in one sentence to aspire to follow their dreams, to make the leap of faith.
So, in one sentence, especially for the girls, every day I say this to my daughter, because I think as a dad, you tend to give the good advice. And I say to my daughter, whatever you like to do, do it. Except, of course, not doing bad things. But if you want to experience something, just do it. Don't just make it a dream or just write it somewhere else or keep it for you. Just do it. You want to experience something? Just do it. So you will learn from it if it is bad, good, or you've been successful, or it is a failure. So my advice is really for these girls, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to see more and more girls engage in engineering. Because, as I said earlier, you can't have a class with only 2 girls and only boys. Okay, because you girls are very much capable, like those boys, of doing things, of creating things, and perhaps most probably having an artistic approach to the engineering side.
Definitely. Each individual has something unique to bring to a situation. So, Sameera, would you like to share with us what success looks like for you, for women in this industry?
Success would be like making a positive impact, okay? And be respected as women, be respected for our expertise. That would be a success. And I would also add that we shouldn't forget those companies that play an important role, that are doing their best to empower us, women. And one sentence, like you mentioned, that I would like to say, and after hearing all that Denis and Delphine said, I would just say, just go for it and try. That's all.
Short and sweet.
So in 10 years' time, what I wish is for women in tech to be, more prominent in the industry. People or women shouldn't be afraid of actually taking STEM as a subject. Everybody can do it, as long as you like it. I wish that women stop being discriminated against at interviews, but also that there shouldn't be any positive discrimination either. So we are talking about equal right, yes, same playing field, right? Just judge people based on their competencies and not what they look like or what their faith is or what their sex is. And again, in 10 years' time, I hope that women will have found a way of balancing career, motherhood, and everything else. Maybe remote working will help with that. I don't know. It's something very, very hard to do, to work remotely. But that's all I can wish for.
Okay. We've had some incredible insights shared with you today by our panelists. And now I'd like to open the floor for just a few questions and answers from the panelists. So does anybody in the audience have any burning questions that they'd like to ask anybody on stage before we wrap up and thank our panelists for joining us today? Anybody? We can send the mic into the audience. Okay.
Thank you for sharing your insights. My question is, what should be the role of government in promoting women in tech?
Well, it's a tough question to answer, actually. We see that through the media. We see a lot of initiative being taken for women. But I'm not quite sure that we see the result. Perhaps it's just showing, but there is not much engagement from the government, because there has been some initiative, like, for example, they tried to instigate the YEP program, the Young Graduate program, to just give people opportunities to join companies. But actually, after that, there is no evaluation. And for me, if you would ask me whether something is successful or not, we would have to evaluate. And yes, there are things that is being done, but we don't have any evaluation. We don't see the result. We don't see what's happening after that. So yes, I do watch the media. I do, like everyone. There are many things that are being done, but yet again, I think there are much more that we can do, if that answers your question.
If I may add, I would suggest, your question was what government can do, right? I know I'm not sure if that's the right platform, but being in a corporate world, I would like that government join hands with the private companies, because we have more resources. We have more resources as private companies compared to government to help those women out there, or even our young graduates. So I would suggest that government work together with private companies, but not the same private companies. I think you would understand what I say, that the same private companies. You have other private companies that could join hands and give you more ideas how to help those young.
Okay. I hope that answers your question. Do we have any other burning questions before we wrap up? Okay. So I would love to thank the audience for listening in, and also to our panelists for sharing their invaluable insights, as well as their willingness to participate. It's not that easy to come up here and sit and to be so honest and candid with a group of people about your mistakes and where you've come from and what you needed to learn. We hope that from this discussion, we've been able to address some of the concerns and issues in bridging the gender gap in the tech industry and in encouraging young people, both men and women, to step up to the plate, and not only in your standard internships, but to continue to thrive within your sector, and also to inspire the next generation of Mauritian youth on the island. We've heard about so many opportunities today, and it will be an incredible opportunity for you guys to continue to mingle with some of the guests that you've had the opportunity to meet today, and especially going into tomorrow's session, day 2, where you'll be talking about how passion meets purpose in this industry, and the different guests that you'll have tomorrow, as well as the panel discussion leading up into that. So we'll hope to see you at tomorrow's panel as we deep dive more into what passion in this industry looks like. So please give a warm, warm round of applause to say thank you to our panelists. Thank you, guys.